all know good communication is key. So what are you doing to make sure as a wife you're improving your communication with your husband? But before I get into all that, let me welcome you back to my channel. My name is Ayanna, and this is Beyond Committed, where we talk about everything from life, faith, family, marriage, motherhood, and everything in between, and we take them beyond. If this is your first time here, welcome, and I'm so glad you stopped by. And to make sure you're not a stranger, make sure you press the subscribe button below and then turn on your notifications so you don't miss a video. All right, now let's dive right in. The longer I'm married and the more wise and wise to be I talk to, the more I learn that just because you're talking doesn't mean you're communicating well. Whether that is someone feels like they're not being heard, someone is feeling like they're being talked at, or someone is feeling like they're just not talking at all. I mean, all of those are things that we can go through in marriage. I know because I've gone through them all in different seasons, in different ways. Either I don't feel like my husband is hearing me, or he doesn't feel like I'm hearing him. We can be talking at each other and not with each other, or we go through seasons where we're kind of giving each other the silent treatment for one reason or the other. So no matter what it is, and no matter what season you go through, as you go through this journey called marriage, you'll go through ups and downs in your communication. So it's so important that as wives, we are intentional about making sure we are having good communication with our husband. And there are 5 things that I've discovered that we all can do to make sure we are working towards improving to have better communication in our marriage. One thing that we can all do to improve communication in our marriage is pause before you speak, making sure that the words you say are really the words you want to say. Because I know for me, sometimes my mouth moves faster than my brain, and then something will slip out and I'll be like, ooh, I didn't mean to say that. And over the years, I have learned that if I pause before I speak, especially when there's something really important that I want to talk to my husband about, that I have taken the time to kind of think about the words I want to say to make sure that he can actually hear me and make sure that I say exactly what I want to say, that I take the time and the pause to do that. Because words can hurt. And once they're out there, they're out there. So it's so important that, especially to have really good communication in your marriage, you are thoughtful about the things you say, thoughtful about how your husband may take them, realizing that some things you're going to have to say, they may hurt, they may sting a little, but they need to be said, and that's okay too. But if you've taken the time to pause, taken the time to truly think, to make sure that, okay, am I saying this in a kind and a loving way? Then it can help you to better communicate, and it also can help to make sure your husband actually hears exactly what you're saying. And another thing that we can do to help better the communication in our marriage is to seek to listen first. Yes, I know we have a lot to say, and I know we've taken the pause we needed to kind of make sure our words are prepared and make sure we're saying it with love and kindness. But we also need to give our husbands the space to say whatever they want to say. And this is also a great way for us to show love, honor, and respect to our husband. For them to know that, okay, we honor what they say. We want to hear what they have to say. We are, humbly listening to whatever they have to say by giving them the option to speak first. I know my husband and I have worked on this over time because I like to kind of just get it out, especially if I've already thought about it. I know exactly what I want to say. And sometimes in my mind, I've already decided what he is going to say too, which is not always the best thing because you can't decide what somebody else is thinking or saying, but I do it. And I try to work on that. So that's also something that I like to do as far as helping me not to do that, is to allow my husband to speak first, realizing that yes, what I have to say is important, but so is what he has to say. And giving him that space to be like, okay, babe, no, you go first, especially if we're talking about a topic or we're coming to a place where we know we need to deal with an issue or something. It's so loving and kind and respectful and honorable to just give our husbands the space to be like, okay, no, babe, you go first. And they can say whatever they need to say. We take the time to truly listen and pause and kind of just process what they have to say before we speak. Because in communication, we have to make sure this is a two-way street. We both should be going along this road together. So in order to do that, we have to make sure that we are giving each other this space to speak whatever it is we need to say. And giving our husband the opportunity to speak first is a great way to better communicate with our husbands within our marriage. And a third thing that can help you improve your communication in your marriage is to evaluate the time and the location. There is a time and a place for everything. And sometimes this ain't the time and the place for that. I mean, really, some conversations are sensitive. Some conversations are going to take more time. Some conversations shouldn't be had in certain spaces or around certain people. So we have to be mindful of all of that, realizing that we have to respect and honor our husbands and our marriage in a way that we have to give it the space and the time it needs to address whatever the issues we have. And that means sometimes we have to put a pause and come back to something, realizing that we may need more time for this. We may need a better location for this, or we may need to have no audience around for this conversation. Because sometimes it's sensitive, sometimes you don't want other people to know. And that's also not necessarily about like protecting your kids from everything. This is something that I know my husband and I had to learn, realizing that some conversations are not for our girls to hear or to know, but they also need to see us have healthy conversation, healthy disagreements in front of them, so that when they grow older, when they get married, when they get in relationship, they know that you can have a communication. You cannot agree and still love each other. You cannot agree and not fight, fuss, cuss, and all that. They need to see that modeled out for them. So that's also a part of like evaluating the time and the place, realizing that you may have to have this conversation right now because it's important. So can you have it in your kitchen with the kids around? Or do you need to go to your bedroom? Or are you out in public and you're like, okay, well, we can't really talk about this right now because it's just not the right time. Whatever it is, it's so important that in order for you to have good communication, you are mindful of both where you are and how much time that you have. And another thing that will help you have better communication in your marriage is to assume right motives. And by this, I mean for you both to assume that you are for each other, that you love each other, and you're not trying to harm each other. Because conversations can get messy. Life is messy. So you're going to say some things that are going to hurt. You're going to say some things you wish you didn't have to say. You're going to have some conversations that you wish you didn't have to have. But if you're assuming right motives with each other, then you know, okay, this person is not trying to harm me. We are having this conversation because we need to. We are either trying to grow, move past, or overcome something, and we need to do that together. And in order to do that, we got to talk about it. So when you have those tough conversations, when you know going into it you're having a tough conversation, make sure you assume right motives. And even when you don't know you're going to have those conversations, I know for my husband and I, sometimes we can be having just a regular conversation about just whatever. Food, you know, the girls' soccer games, whatever. And then something is said and it kind of triggers something else and we kind of go spiral or kind of snowball into a deeper conversation. But regardless of where we started, even in this deeper conversation, we have to be intentional about making sure we are assuming right motives for each other, knowing that we love each other and care for each other and we're not trying to harm each other. And that's something that I know has helped us so much in having better communication in our marriage, and I know it will help you as well. And the fifth thing that can help you have better communication in your marriage is realize that everything isn't a conversation. Yes, there are some things you have to talk about. Some things you need to sit down. Okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to get past this? But other times, sometimes you making a statement and moving on is okay. Sometimes you just moving on and not saying anything is okay. Sometimes you sending a text, or sometimes you putting a post-it note on the bathroom. Whatever. Those are ways in which you are communicating and ways in which you are staying connected in little and big ways, realizing that yes, conversations and being able to talk things out is important, but also being able just to being able to know that everything doesn't have to be a big to-do. Everything that doesn't have to be a production is also a way for you to make sure you are having good communication now and you have this space to have better communication later. All right, that's it for today. And I want to know, what's one way you're intentional about improving the communication in your marriage? Let me know in the comment box below. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and then make sure you press that subscribe button and turn your notifications so you don't miss a video. All right, now until I see you again, bye.